Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Drew, and I want to welcome you back to Learn How to See Better. It's the only podcast out there that'll improve your vision the longer you listen. And today, I want to test your vision a little bit because I want to see if you are able to decipher whether or not those obstacles that you see in your path on your journey are really what you think they are. Because those things you see as obstacles may very well be nothing more than illusion. One of the things I've been able to observe in my life is that time and time again, there's evidence of truth in the statement that breakthroughs typically come from break-withs. And that may seem like a sparse statement. It may seem a little bit light in meaning at the surface. But when you give it some additional thinking time and consideration, and you think about break with, breaking away from, splitting apart from, and you can recognize that in many instances, sometimes the breakthrough comes from the point at which we decide or make an election to cut off or remove yourself from or separate yourself from, maybe it's influences in your life in the form of people or environments or even things. So if you kind of look at anything in life that's held you back as maybe a ball and chain, how do you break with that ball and chain? Part of it's identifying what that is, but essentially the breakthrough comes from that severance package, that breakaway point, that splitting from the ball and chain, the anchor, the thing that's quote unquote holding you down, holding you back. Influences via people, environments, or things. And so when you take that all into account and start to think, okay, well, let's look at how we can break through and empower our ability to break through. And so we essentially see that there's really got to be a change in perspective, and a change in viewpoint. And it's like a shift in your paradigm, the way you look at and see the world. So if you're a hammer and you think like a hammer, everything in the world looks like a nail, right? What's a hammer do? It drives the nail into the wood as an example. So if you're a hammer and you think like a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But if you can shift your paradigm and you thought like a screwdriver or some sort of different tool, the world around you is perceived differently. So if I haven't lost you in the toolbox at this point and you're sticking with me, you can understand or maybe make the connection that with a certain point of view, a certain perspective, you may find scenarios in your life where you feel like you're faced with a massive, unmovable obstacle. But when you really think about what I just said a moment or two ago, we can reframe that obstacle and ask ourselves, is what I see really there? Is it really real? Is it really an obstacle, or is it an illusion? What's an illusion? It's something not real. It's something false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. It's like an acronym, like fear. So an illusion could be fearful to you. And it's the obstacle that you see that's really an illusion that is false evidence appearing real, and you've essentially got your obstacle equating to fear. Kind of wild, right? So the things we see as obstacles, you can start reaching a little bit and make that connection that, okay, if we see an obstacle, we're finding our fear. So where do obstacles show up in our life? And if we can start to make observations and see patterns and hints and clues of where these obstacles consistently show up in our lives, that may give us a clue as to where fear resides in our lives. Because if you don't know if it's an obstacle or an illusion, because an illusion is really false evidence appearing real. Nice little convenient acronym for fear. It brings to question this idea of what are you actually seeing, you know? Some people may see gaining their health as an obstacle. Okay? Touchy subject, right? But is it an obstacle or is it an illusion? And is there any fear there? Now, I'm not trying to put everybody all in one bucket or category, but it's just giving some scenarios for thought. And I just picked a category from thin air, right? Maybe you're a talented athlete looking to go from the level you're at to level next. And you see obstacles. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're taller, they're better, right? Is that an obstacle or is it an illusion? Is that just the fear of an ability to keep up, compete, step up, produce? So there's so many different things that we can manufacture in different areas of our life. We can talk health, we can talk wealth, we can talk relationships, the job promotion that you feel you can't get, the big client. I could go on and on. You get where I'm going. Is it an obstacle or is it an illusion? And so sometimes we have to step back and give thought to our outward view of the world and make that connection. Is where do you see those obstacles, and are those clues of where you've got fear? Because action cures fear. Intelligence can cure fear. Truth can eradicate fear, right? So looking at ways to empower yourself to smash through obstacles is recognizing that many obstacles we perceive to be such in our lives, they're actually illusions. And illusions are just fear. So what are we afraid of? Afraid of the failure, afraid of the rejection, afraid of perception, how we're valued or viewed. It gets deep. But in some of those moments, you can actually, if you'll be courageous enough to kind of step beside yourself and step outside yourself and try to observe these situations as almost a disinterested third party, you can start to see these instances and say, okay, I'm picking up on what's taking place here. And if I can outwit the devil in a sense and be bigger than my perceived problem, I may be able to think from a solution-oriented mindset. Because the age-old saying, the same thinking that got you in the problem won't get you out of the problem. So looking at how we can have those opportunities to shift the perspective, to step back and reevaluate things by just introducing this small concept or idea that which we see may not really be. Yeah. Let that one sink in. But anyway, I just wanted to share those thoughts. Obstacles and illusions. When we go through life and see challenge in our world, what are we really perceiving? Very interesting concept to ponder. Something to noodle on. I'd love to get your input, so feel free to share that with me. But in the meantime, thank you for listening and opening your mind for a moment to just consider this concept. And maybe you can take it into your future days and evaluate your experiences with a little bit different perspective. And it may just empower you to test those waters. Is it really real? You might be surprised. So here's to your success and to your building of momentum in all that you pursue to do. Thanks for listening.